Hello and welcome back to Bicycle Legs and another edition of Studio Albums Ranked. And today I'm going to be talking about one of my favourite artists of all time, Weird Al Yankovic. Got into him when Eat It came out, 1984, was in first year of high school, grade 8, and I've been a huge fan ever since. I've been lucky enough to see him in concert a couple of times. In fact, the first time I saw Weird Al in concert was also the first time I took my son to a concert. So yeah, I have wonderfully fond memories of Weird Al. He's got 14 studio albums overall. I'm not going to be including the collaborative album that he did with Wendy Carlos because I really don't feel like that's in the same sort of genre as all his other albums. So it really wouldn't be fair to sort of plonk that into his main catalogue and try and put it somewhere in there, but I do love that album to bits. So yeah, 14 albums in total. I'm going to be ranking them from my least favourite to my most favourite, but remember, these are just my opinions, and also remember, I love all of these albums, just some of them more than others. I think some of the albums have more great songs on them. Some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about in the first 2 or 3 do have a couple of songs that don't quite work for me, but there's still some wonderful stuff even on these albums that are ranked at the very bottom. So let's get straight into it and start off with my number 14, which is his album from 1987, and that is Even Worse. Now, of course, this was a bit of a comeback album for him because the album before this had done really badly. He was in danger of getting dropped by his record label. He needed a hit, and he ended up getting it with the wonderful Fat, which of course is a parody of Bad by Michael Jackson, as the cover would, of course, allude to. There's some good songs on here, but some of the originals aren't great. Some of the parodies are not my favourites. Things like I Think I'm a Clone Now doesn't really work for me. But I mean, you've still got wonderful things on here like Lasagna, which is his wonderful parody of La Bamba. You've got the wonderful Good Old Days that closes it out, which is a wonderful original song, but done in the style of sort of James Taylor. That sort of thing. Velvet Elvis is a great style parody, again an original but done in the style of the Police. Yeah, there's still some really good songs on here. Twister, sort of his style parody of Beastie Boys, but and Melanie is a lovely song too. So it's really the originals here that kind of work for me. The next one I'm going to have a look at is my number 13. It was released in 1983. It was his debut album, simply called Weird Al Yankovic. He's still sort of working out what he wants to do at this stage. Unlike all the other albums in his genre, in his catalogue, this one is very heavily accordion based, like all of the songs, not just the ones that really should have accordion in them. So he hadn't quite got into that sort of style that he would have of mimicking much more closely the songs that he was parodying. But there's still some really good stuff on here. I mean, it's got the wonderful I Love Rocky Road, which is his parody of I Love Rock and Roll. It's got Happy Birthday, one of his best early originals. It's just a wonderful happy birthday song, but really kind of dark and twisted, the way that Weird Al's humour could be when it was, for me, at its very best. You've got Stop Dragging My Car Around, My Bologna, which is kind of where it all started for him. Yeah, I mean, you've got Mr. Frump in the Iron Lung, another kind of dark song, which I really like. I'll Be Mellow When I'm Dead is really good too. There's a couple of things that don't work on here for me. Gotta Boogie is very sort of 5th grade humour. Buckingham Blues, The Checks in the Mail is okay. But Another One Rides the Bus, that's a really good one actually. I didn't see that one on there, but that's a really good one too. Absolutely love that. It's a good album. It's got a couple of missteps on it for me. That's why I'm ranking it at number 13. At number 12, I'm going to have his kind of soundtrack, kind of not soundtrack album from 1989, UHF. I love this movie to bits, even though, again, it's stiffed and it almost killed his career. I love the movie. The actual soundtrack, it's got some wonderful stuff on it. The Money for Nothing Beverly Hillbillies mashup is great. It ends with the wonderful Biggest Ball of Twine in Minnesota, which is one of his great sort of Shaggy Dog long songs. You've got She Drives Like Crazy, maybe not one of his best parodies, but Generic Blues is funny as hell. Attack of the Radioactive Hamsters from a Planet Near Mars is a great original as well. Again, and you've got a wonderful Hot Rocks polka on this one. And that's the other thing, with those first two albums, they're the only two albums in his catalogue that don't have a polka medley on them, and I think that's why I kind of rank them a little lower as well, because I do love me a great Weird Al polka medley. The Hot Rocks polka on here is a medley entirely of Rolling Stones songs. It's done really, really well. This is a very good album. I like the movie probably better than I like the album, but the album is still really, really good. At number 11, some people might be surprised I'm ranking this one as low as I am, but it's just a testament to how great I think Weird Al's catalogue is. At number 11, we're going to have his album from 1992, Off the Deep End. Now, of course, this was kind of the comeback album for him after UHF. It had the wonderful Smells Like Nirvana, one of his great sort of hit single parodies. It's got a couple that just don't quite work for me. You know, things like the Plumbing Song, which is a parody of Milli Vanilli songs. It's like... The White Stuff is a decent parody, but it's not great. It's a parody of The Right Stuff by New Kids on the Block. You've got a great polka medley, Polka Your Eyes Out. I Can't Watch This is a really good parody of You Can't Touch This. Trigger Happy's got that real sort of Beach Boys / Jan and Dean sort of feel to it, that very early sort of surf music thing, and it's about sort of like the ridiculous gun violence situation in America, but it's done very, very funny. There's a lot of good laugh out loud jokes on that one. When I Was Your Age is kind of Weird Al's take on the Four Yorkshiremen sketch from Monty Python. Taco Grande is a parody, but I'm not overly familiar with the song that it parodies, which is Rico Suave. Airline Amy's a good song, good original. You Don't Love Me Anymore is a very funny closer, sort of parodying that sort of More Than Words extreme, but it's an original song. It's done in that style. It's not a direct parody of More Than Words. It's a very good album. As is my number 10, which is his second to last album from 2011, and that is Alpocalypse. Probably the one that really doesn't work super well for me is the lead single off this, which is Perform This Way, which is a parody of Born This Way by Lady Gaga. I just think it's a little obvious. But there's some great originals on here. CNR done in the style of the White Stripes about Charles Nelson Riley, who was this sort of American actor and performer on game shows and things like that. It's very funny. Skipper Dan done in the style of Weezer, but again an original. Got a bit of a tinge of sadness to its humour, though. I think it's an interesting thing. It's not something that Weird Al did a lot. The Polka Face medley is great. Craigslist is a wonderful style parody of The Doors. But, you know, the actual parodies, you've got TMZ, You've got Party in the CIA, which is a parody of Miley Cyrus, but I actually like that Miley Cyrus song, Party in the USA. I'm not afraid to admit that. And Party in the CIA is funny as hell, and again, a little bit dark. Ringtone is his sort of style parody of Queen. I actually use that on my phone, the chorus of that, as a ringtone. Another Tattoo, which is a parody of Nothing on You. If That Isn't Love is a style parody of Hanson. It's very good. Stop Forwarding That Crap to Me is the sort of epic closer, and it's done in the style of those sort of Jim Steinman, overly dramatic kind of songs, but it's about sort of don't forward me those crappy emails and memes and all that sort of junk. It's a very good album. Again, I just like some of these other albums a little bit better. At number 9, I'm going to have his album from 1993, and that is Alapalooza. Now, the lead parody off this was Jurassic Park, which is a parody of MacArthur Park by Richard Harris. It's very funny. I like it a lot. Young, Dumb and Ugly is sort of a style parody of like AC/DC, that sort of thing. I'm not a huge AC/DC fan, but I think Weird Al does a pretty good job of that. Bedrock Anthem's a quite good parody of Red Hot Chili Peppers. Mostly Give It Away, but at the beginning it's a sort of parody of Under the Bridge, sorry. Frank's 2000-inch TV is a song that he still plays in concert to this day. Achy Breaky Song, yeah, not the greatest thing he's ever done. Pretty obvious kind of parody for Achy Breaky Heart. Traffic Jam is his style parody of Prince, because Prince would never allow him to parody one of his songs, like do a proper parody. So Weird Al did this style parody of Prince on Traffic Jam. It's really good. Living in the Fridge, that's a pretty good parody of Living on the Edge by Aerosmith. She Never Told Me She Was a Mime, not one of my favourite Weird Al originals, but it's still a good song. But Waffle King's great. Done a style parody of sort of Peter Gabriel's So era, or even sort of the Us era, sort of something like Kiss That Frog. And the Bohemian Polka, where he does Bohemian Rhapsody as a polka. It is laugh out loud funny, absolutely brilliant, love it to bits. The next album we're going to have a look at is my number 8. It was released in 2003, and that is Poodle Hat. Couch Potato was the lead parody off this. It's a parody of Lose Yourself by Eminem. Eminem famously, he allowed the parody to go through, but then when Weird Al wanted to do a video for it, Eminem put his foot down, and so there's no official video for Couch Potato, which is a bit of a shame. Other parodies you get on here that are really good. Trash Day, it's a parody of Hot in Here. You've got A Complicated Song's not my favourite parody by Weird Al. It's, again, one of those slightly obvious ones. Ode to a Superhero, wonderful parody telling the story of the first Spider-Man movie to the tune of Piano Man by Billy Joel. Really, really good. eBay is a good parody. I like that a lot. But then the originals on here, again, there's one original on here I really don't like, and that is Party at the Leper Colony, because, again, really, really obvious jokes. But Hardware Store is brilliant, not just because the lyric is great and just how brilliantly Weird Al delivers it. It's so many words so quickly, and he can spit them all out. But musically, it's absolutely wonderful. I don't know whose style it's supposed to be in, but it's absolutely brilliant. The Angry White Boy Polka is a lot of fun. Wanna Be Your Lover, really sort of sleazy kind of lounge feel to it. Again, he would do that one in concert quite a lot, and he would come out and sort of sit in the lap of people in the audience and stuff like that and make people very uncomfortable. It was a lot of fun. Why Does This Always Happen to Me is wonderful style parody of Ben Folds, with Ben Folds actually playing the piano on it. Bob, great sort of style parody of Bob Dylan. And Genius in France, one of my favorite Weird Al originals, which he does in the various different styles of Frank Zappa. He has Dweezil Zappa playing some guitar in the intro. It's absolutely wonderful. Goes for like 7-8 minutes and tells this shaggy dog tale about this guy who's a complete loser, but for some reason the French absolutely love him. So and all the different Frank Zappa styles that he goes through on it, just brilliant. He does them so well. Absolute master of his craft when he does that sort of thing. The next album we're going to have a look at is my number 7. It was originally released in 1996, and that is Bad Hair Day. Now, the lead parody off this was Amish Paradise, which is a parody of Gangsta's Paradise, which in itself has an interpolation of Stevie Wonder's Pastime Paradise. So it's a bit of a parody within a parody, or song within a song within a song. And of course, Coolio apparently didn't give permission, although his record company did, and so that was a bit of a kerfuffle. But it is one of my favourite Weird Al parodies. Absolutely love it. The clip for it is brilliant too. Everything You Know Is Wrong. I love it when he does style parodies of some of my absolute favourite bands, and this is a style parody of They Might Be Giants. He absolutely bloody nails it because he is such a fan of the band. Love it, love it, love it to death. Cavity Search is his parody of Hold Me, Thrill Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me by U2 from the Batman soundtrack. Callin' In Sick is a sort of style parody of grunge. It's okay. It's not bad. It's not great. The alternative polka is really good. Again, his polka medleys are usually so good. Since You've Been Gone is this little doo-wop sort of piece, and it's really fun. Gump, great parody of Lump by Presidents of the United States of America, telling the story of the film Forrest Gump. How he tells the story of this huge sort of 3-hour film or whatever it is in like just over 2 minutes. But he manages, and he does it really well, and he makes it funny. I'm So Sick of You is a decent original. Syndicated Incorporated's a good parody. I Remember Larry, one of my favourite originals of his, absolutely wonderful. And again, it's this song where, you know, this guy Larry's playing all these practical jokes on the singer and his friends. And then it takes a really dark turn in the last verse when they get their revenge on Larry. Phony Calls is a parody of TLC's Waterfalls. And then, of course, The Night Santa Went Crazy. He does a couple of Christmas songs, and they're always really, really dark, which I love to bits. And The Night Santa Went Crazy is no exception. Santa goes postal and goes on a big shooting rampage up at the North Pole. Love it to death. Lots of fun. My number 6 is going to be his most recent album. Doesn't look like we're going to get any more actual albums from Weird Al, unfortunately. This is from 2014, so it's 10 years ago now. And that is Mandatory Fun. Great album to go out on if it is indeed his last one. Handy, great parody. Lame Claim to Fame's a lot of fun. Original song, Foil. Love Foil is a parody of Royals by Lord. Love it to death. Sports song is that, you know, sort of those American sort of fight songs that they have at their football games and that sort of thing with the brass and that sort of thing. But it does it like it's kind of saying the quiet parts out loud of what these sports fight songs would actually like to say. Word Crimes was the hit off this, got into the top 40 in the US, which is a parody of Robin Thicke's Blurred Lines. It's a great one for me because I'm a bit of a grammar nerd. My mother was an editor, so I grew up, you know, having to be very correct with my English and all that sort of thing. So this one definitely tickled my funny bone when it came out. Still love it to this day. My Own Eyes, style parody of Foo Fighters. It's a funny song. Now that's what I call polka, his last polka medley thus far. Unless you count, he did do the Hamilton polka, where he did a polka medley of songs from the musical Hamilton. But that's what I call polka, is a great polka medley. Mission Statement, done in the style of Crosby, Stills and Nash. Has those beautiful harmonies, and it is just the most un-Crosby, Stills and Nash topic possible. It's all these sort of corporate buzzwords and that sort of thing. It's just really, really funny. Inactive is a good, not great parody. First World Problems is a really great style parody of the Pixies. Absolutely love it, and the jokes in it are really, really good. Tacky, yeah, I mean, that's a great parody of Happy by Pharrell Williams. And then Jackson Park Express, it's another one of these big, long, shaggy dog stories. Gets a little graphic at times, but it's a lot of fun. It's kind of done in the style of Cat Stevens, that sort of thing, telling this sort of story of two people on a bus trip. It's really, really good. My number 5, again, this might surprise people that it's not a little bit higher, but it's a great album. It's just, again, a couple of these other albums I like a little bit better. It's his second album from 1984, and that is Weird Al Yankovic in 3D. Now, this is where it all started for me, of course, because this has got Eat It on it. Fun fact, I think I've mentioned this in other people's shows. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on my channel. In Australia, Beat It by Michael Jackson got to number 3 on the charts, but Eat It by Weird Al Yankovic got all the way to number 1. It's his only number 1 single anywhere in the world, and I love the fact that Eat It beat It on the charts here in Australia. I think that's hilarious. Love it to death. The parodies on here as a whole are really, really good. The Brady Bunch is a wonderful parody of the Safety Dance, sort of telling the story of the Brady Bunch show. Love it. I Lost on Jeopardy is a parody of Jeopardy by Greg Kinband, and I really, really like it. The only thing is that was released as the second single here in Australia, and at the time Jeopardy had never been shown on TV in Australia, so nobody knew what the hell it was about, and so it didn't do very well, which is a bit of a shame. King of Suede is a really good parody of King of Pain by the Police. You can tell he's a Police fan because he's done quite a bit of, he's dipped into the Police well a few times over the years, between style parodies, actual parodies, and polka medleys. He really does like the Police. And Theme from Rocky 13 is a wonderful parody of Eye of the Tiger. This is like the retired champ. He's fat and lazy now, and he runs a delicatessen, and yeah, it's a lot of good fun. But then the originals on here, the only original I don't really like is Buy Me a Condo. It's done in this sort of reggae style, and he puts on a bit of an accent. It's a bit, in this day and age, not a good look. But the others are wonderful. Midnight Star is this wonderful song about supermarket tabloids and these sort of outlandish stories that they would have in them. Mr. Popeil, his style parody of the B-52s, and he absolutely nails it. Again, him doing one of my favorite bands. Wonderful. That Boy Could Dance, not as in the style of anybody in particular, but it's a really funny song. And Nature Trail to Hell is probably his first sort of epic closing track about this really sort of blood and guts horror movie, and it's really, really funny. Love it to death. My number 4 is going to probably surprise people that it's as high on my list, because this is the album I was alluding to when I was talking about Even Worse, the album that nearly killed his career because it just did not sell well at all. I love this album though. I think it's really, really good. From 1986, it is Polka Party. Now the actual polka medley, Polka Party, a lot of fun, really, really good. But I mean, you've got Living with a Hernia, which is his parody of Living in America from Rocky IV. I love it. I think it's a great, great parody. Addicted to Spuds is a lot of fun, which is his parody of Addicted to Love. Here's Johnny is a parody too. The song is not coming to mind. It's an El DeBarge song, but it's a lot of fun. Again, it's sort of about Johnny Carson's sidekick, Ed McMahon. Again, one that didn't really go over here in Australia at the time, but now I know who Ed McMahon is and what it's all about and that sort of thing. I think it's great. Toothless People is his parody of Ruthless People by Mick Jagger. Again, a lot of fun. But the originals on this album, they're all really good. You've got Dog Eat Dog, which is his style parody of Talking Heads. Again, one of my favourite bands of all time. And again, he absolutely nails it. Does a brilliant, brilliant job of it. And it's a funny song about sort of working in an office and that sort of thing. One of Those Days isn't in any particular style, but it's a funny song. How it conflates sort of everyday things that can go wrong with like catastrophic things that can go wrong, and sort of trying to make as if there's no difference between the two, which I think is a lot of fun. Don't Wear Those Shoes, probably the least successful of his originals on here, but it's still a really good song. Good Enough for Now, really, really funny style parody of sort of country and western songs. And it's like the most unromantic love song you could ever hear. Absolutely wonderful. And then his other brilliant Christmas song, Christmas at Ground Zero, which is done in the style of those bright, happy sort of 50s, 60s Christmas songs. But it's about sort of a nuclear holocaust happening on Christmas Day. How brilliant is that? Absolutely love it to death. My number 3 is going to be his album from 1985, his third album, Dare to Be Stupid. Again, I mean, the originals on here, Dare to Be Stupid, the title track, is his style parody of Devo. How could I not love that? Absolutely love it. I still remember I was working at a record fair when I was a sort of teenager, and somebody came up to me and asked me what song Dare to Be Stupid parodied, and I had to tell them it doesn't parody any song. It's an original. It's done in the style of Devo, but it's an original song. And he didn't believe me. So wherever you are, it really is an original song. It's not a parody of any particular Devo song. One More Minute. One of the funniest songs that Weird Al's ever done. Again, done in that sort of 50s doo-wop style. And just about how he doesn't want to spend any more time with this ex-girlfriend who broke his heart, and all the different things he would rather do than spend time with her, which it absolutely cracks me up. To this day, I've heard this song hundreds of times, and it still makes me laugh out loud. It's that funny. Absolutely love it. He does a straight cover of the George of the Jungle theme song from the TV series. I think his record company wanted him to do that. It's fine while it's on, but it doesn't add anything to the original, I don't think. It's fun to hear Weird Al sing it, though. Slime Creatures from Outer Space is sort of a style parody of sort of Thomas Dolby, sort of hyperactive style. That sort of funky thing that Thomas Dolby was getting into at the time. Again, a really funny song about an alien invasion and that sort of thing. This Is the Life was written for a movie, I think it's Johnny Dangerously. I could be wrong. Please let me know in the comments if I'm wrong about that. And it's just this, you know, wonderful boasting song about how brilliantly this guy's life has turned out and how rich he is and all that wonderful stuff. And it's just wonderful. It's done in the sort of style of that sort of 20s kind of feel, but then it has these sort of anachronisms in it, like electric guitar solos and turntable scratches and things like that. It's those little details that make it just brilliant. Absolutely love it. And then Cable TV is this sort of wonderful song about sort of cable TV in the 80s and all these weird and wonderful channels that you would get on cable TV. And this guy, you know, how he would just not be able to stop watching his, you know, how many 50 odd channels he had at the time or whatever. But then the parodies on here, all bar one of them, I think is great. Like a Surgeon, absolutely brilliant. Apparently Madonna came up with that idea of doing Like a Surgeon, and that filtered through to Weird Al, who decided, yeah, that sounds like a really good idea. I Want a New Duck is a really funny parody of I Want a New Drug by Huey Lewis. Yoda, I mean, that's an all-time Weird Al classic, isn't it? You know, a parody of the Kinks' Lola, sort of telling the story of Empire Strikes Back. Apparently it took him to get it on the third album rather than earlier because he had to like clear rights from Lucasfilm and things like that. But he'd been playing it live for years. So the only one I don't really like is Girls Just Want to Have Lunch, and Weird Al doesn't really like it either because, again, it was the record company who said, why don't you do a parody of this? And he didn't really want to, and he didn't have a great idea for it. So and then the Hooked on Polkas medley, absolutely wonderful. Yeah, great album. My number 2 is going to be his album from 1999, and that is Running with Scissors. This album, I'd kind of stopped listening to Weird Al, or not paying close attention to what Weird Al was doing in the sort of mid-90s. I'd heard, you know, Smells Like Nirvana, and I liked that. I don't think I really heard Amish Paradise at the time, which is a shame because I love it to death. I don't think I heard Jurassic Park at the time. Again, really liked it. And I certainly never checked those albums out. But then this album came out and I kind of got it and dipped my toes back into the Weird Al catalogue. Loved this album to death at the time, and I still do to this day. It's absolutely wonderful album. I don't think there are any weak spots on this album, or indeed on my number 1. It starts off with The Saga Begins, which is a telling of Phantom Menace, done to the tune of American Pie by Don McLean. And apparently he had to do this all with like secret research and spoilers that had come out and all this sort of thing. He did it before he'd seen the film. He actually went and saw a preview, like a special pre-release preview of the film, just to see if he'd gotten everything right from all these sort of internet sources. And I think with the exception of one line, he had everything pretty much right. So pretty amazing. And it's a brilliant song. It's one of his all-time greatest parodies as far as I'm concerned. Pretty Fly for a Rabbi is a lot of fun looking at the parodies again here. Jerry Springer is a great parody of One Week. Yeah, I mean, you've got It's All About the Pentiums, which is a wonderful parody of the rock version of It's All About the Benjamins by Puff Daddy. Absolutely, I can still sort of recite all the words to It's All About the Pentiums because I'm a colossal nerd. If you hadn't already worked that out from watching my channel, I am in fact a colossal nerd, and I love this incredibly nerdy song. And then you've got Grapefruit Diet, which again, it's a topic that Weird Al goes back to a lot, as food and being overweight and that sort of thing, but it's done really well. It's done to the tune of Zoot Suit Riot by Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Love it to death. But the originals on here are every bit as good. You've got the wonderful Zydeco flavored My Baby's in Love with Eddie Vedder. Very funny song. You've got the Weird Al Show theme, which is just this little sort of extra bit, but it's really fun. I love it. And I always loved the Weird Al Show, even though ostensibly it was a kid's show. I still think it's funny as hell. You've got the wonderful Germs, which is done in the style of sort of early Nine Inch Nails, about sort of a germaphobe and all that sort of thing. It's very funny. Again, the Polka Medley, Polka Power, really great. Your Horoscope for Today is done in this sort of style of sort of these third wave ska bands like Mighty Boss Tones and things like that. But it's so funny about, you know, how ridiculous horoscopes are and all that sort of thing. Truck Driving Song is kind of a little bit like the Lumberjack song by Monty Python. It's a different spin on it, and it's done like as one of these trucker song kind of things, you know. And then you've got the ultimate Shaggy Dog story that Weird Al ever did, the longest track he ever did, Albuquerque. It's just so funny. And apparently he wrote it to try and annoy people and make them, you know, want to turn it off before it was finished. And most Weird Al fans just love every minute of it and listen to it all the way through. And I'm one of those. I think it's funny, incredibly funny. He does it in concert and makes it even longer, which is even funnier. So yeah, Albuquerque, just great way to close out the album. But my number one favorite Weird Al album might come as a bit of a surprise because it's a later album in his career. It's from 2006 and it's straight out of Linwood. To me, this is the album where every single track is absolutely killer. You've got his only top 10 US hit, White and Nerdy. Just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, with the parodies, you've got Canadian Idiot, which is a parody of American Idiot. And again, poking gentle fun at their northern neighbours. It's a lot of fun. Confessions Part 3, which is sort of a style a parody of Confessions Part 2. And it's like just all these ridiculous little things and slightly gross things that he's done that he feels need to confess to his partner. Do I Creep You Out is very funny. And then the epic on this one is actually the second to last song, and it's a parody, and it's Trapped in the Drive-Thru, which is a parody of the rather problematic R. Kelly's Trapped in the Closet. But it's very funny. It's about just going to the drive-thru and all the little bits and things that happen on the way. And he does this sort of 8-9 minute version of it. And it's just really funny. Love it. But the originals on this album, my God. The originals on this album are so good. Pancreas. I mean, what a topic to write a song about a pancreas. And he does it in the style of this sort of Beach Boys, but Pet Sounds era Beach Boys, with all these, you know, instruments that you wouldn't expect, you know, the bass harmonicas and the ukuleles and toy pianos and all the sort of wonderful little details. It's one of my absolute all-time favorite Weird Al originals. I'll Sue Ya, really funny song done in this sort of nu metal style. I'm not a fan of nu metal, but Weird Al absolutely nails it as a style parody of the genre. Absolutely wonderful. And the lyric is really funny about this sort of litigation culture that the United States has. So yeah, you've got the wonderful Polkarama, which is the great polka medley on this one. Love it to bits. Virus Alert, done in the style of one of my favorite bands, Sparks. And again, he does it brilliantly because he is a huge Sparks fan. I've seen photos of him at Sparks concerts and that sort of thing. Absolutely wonderful. One of my favorite style parodies that he's ever done. Weasel Stomping Day, very funny. You know, done in this sort of holiday style song, but about this absolutely horrifying holiday. I think he did that for Robot Chicken. There's certainly a Robot Chicken clip that goes with the song. Close But No Cigars, done in the style of Cake, but again, it's an original song. It's very funny about this guy who has incredibly fussy standards with girlfriends. Yeah. And then Don't Download This Song, done in the style of those sort of We Are the World kind of things, you know, the but about, you know, not illegally file sharing. And I mean, Lars Ulrich gets a shout out in it, and It's very funny. It's a hilarious song. Great way to end the album. So there you have it, everybody. That is my Weird Al Yankovic studio albums ranked. Going up again from number 1, we have Straight Outta Linwood at number 1. Running with Scissors at number 2. Dare to Be Stupid at number 3. Polka Party at number 4. Weird Al Yankovic in 3D at number 5. Mandatory Fun at number 6. Bad Hair Day at number 7. Poodle Hat at number 8. Alapalooza at number 9. Alpocalypse at number 10. Off the Deep End at number 11. UHF at number 12. Self-titled Weird Al Yankovic at number 13. And at number 14, still a good album, is Even Worse. And one song I forgot to mention off this one is one of my favorite style parodies he ever did. That is You Make Me. And that is a wonderful, wonderful style parody of Oingo Boingo. Again, one of my favorite bands of all time, and a band that I definitely need to do an episode about on this channel very, very soon. So that's my Weird Al ranking. Please let me know in the comments what your Weird Al ranking is. If you want to rank the whole catalogue, that'd be great. If you want to just tell me what your favorite ones are, or maybe which ones you don't like so much, please let me know in the comments. I love reading the comments. I love everybody's different perspectives on this music. It's so much fun. Please do like, share and subscribe. It really does help the channel out. If you're new to the channel, please go and have a look at some of my other videos. I have everything playlisted, so if you want to have a look at some of my other studio albums ranked shows, there's a playlist for those. If you want to see some of my favorite songs from each album shows, which I definitely should do a Weird Al one on, there's a playlist for those. If you want to see my appearances on other people's channels, I also have a playlist for those. And please do go and subscribe to those channels if you're new to them. If you want to follow me on social media, I'm at bicyclelegs on Instagram and Twitter. I also have a dedicated bicyclelegs Facebook page. Links for those are all in the description. Please come and give those all a follow and join in the conversation. I'd really, really love to have you there. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.